Okay, my name is Alyssa Kaufman.
And I'm Brenna Brown.
And Nick Piotrowski was supposed to be in our group, but he's at a baseball game. So, our topic is will Mount Rainier destroy Seattle? To begin, this is just an overview of everything that we'll be talking about. Brenna will talk about the eruption history. I will discuss the future eruptions, and P over here, he would talk about the geological evidence and the geophysical horrors. But I will begin with informing you about the background of Mount Rainier. It's part of the Cascade Range, which is in the Pacific Northwest in the state of Washington. It's the highest volcano not only in the Cascade Range, but in the state of Washington as well. It's a stratovolcano, which we've discussed about in class. Another term for it is a composite cone, and as you should know, it is a explosive type of volcano. According to the National Park Service, Mount Rainier is in a 100-mile radius of Seattle, and the last eruption took place in 1894, which Brenna will go into further detail about, and it's often referred to as the ticking time bomb. This is just showing you in relation to Seattle where Mount Rainier is. Seattle's up in the top left corner. And then we're just going to show you a short video about some of the background information.
Majestic Mount Rainier looms over Seattle, the icon of the pristine Pacific Northwest. Thousands of people live in the valleys just below Rainier. Its Indian name, Tahoma, alludes to a giant slumbering in a cave. But one morning, that giant might suddenly awake, and local residents will learn that they have been living under a time bomb. And when that day comes, the sky will rain fire and rock.
When Rainier erupts, if it's an explosive type of an eruption, there will be a jet of gas, ash, and hot rock that will be hurled skywards for several hundred meters.
As a massive plume churns the skies over Rainier, shattered rock, gas, and glass shards spread over the surface of the cone.
And that mixture would be turbulent. It would rip up the snow and ice, mix with it, and cause extensive melting.
The searing hot flow of gas and pumice charges down the flanks, mowing down 50-foot-tall trees as if they are blades of grass. The eruption pumps a deadly mixture of rock and natural glass particles into the sky. The expanding column chokes day into night. The black curtain of ash rises 5 miles into the air and is visible in Seattle 60 miles away. Sparks ignite hundreds of forest fires. But ash isn't what presents the greatest danger, nor is it the eruption. 150,000 residents in the towns dotting the valley below are in grave danger from one of the least recognized of all the volcanic hazards. A creeping, deadly mud flow.
Something like 35 square miles of snow and ice available for melting almost instantaneously should an explosive pyroclastic eruption occur.
14,000 feet above the valley, this pyroclastic flow, searing streams of ash and pumice, reaches 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, melting a swath of snowpack. This is all it takes to start a disaster of biblical proportions.
Alright, so as you can tell, as you heard, Mount Rainier is going to erupt. Although Mount Rainier is an active volcano as of 2010, there was no evidence of an imminent eruption. However, an eruption could be devastating for all areas surrounding the volcano. Mount Rainier is currently listed as a decade volcano, or one of the 60 volcanoes with the greatest likelihood of causing great loss of life and property if eruptive activity resumes. If Mount Rainier were to erupt as powerfully as Mount St. Helens did in its May 18, 1980 eruption, the effect would be cumulatively greater. because of the far more massive amounts of glacial ice locked on the volcano compared to Mount St. Helen and its vastly more heavily populated areas surrounding Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier, an active volcano currently at rest between eruptions, is the highest peak in the Cascade Range. Its edifice, capped by snow and 25 glaciers, has been built up by untold eruptions over the past 500,000 years. Mount Rainier has erupted less often and less explosively in recent millennia than its well-known neighbor Mount St. Helen. It last erupted in 1894 to 1895, when small summit explosions were reported by observers in Seattle and Tacoma. Mount Rainier's next eruption might be a similar or larger size and could produce volcanic ash, lava flows, and avalanches of intensely hot rock and volcanic gases. Alright. As you can see in this map, these are the Cascade. This is the Cascade Range, and Mount Rainier is one of the many volcanoes in this range. And as you can see, Mount Rainier has erupted 4 times in the past 4,000 years, so it's more likely going to erupt.
Okay, some of the future eruptions that we thought might be important are, according to USGS.gov, new eruptions will begin with steam and ash at the summit. And for those of you that don't know what the summit is, it's just the very top point, or the highest point on the volcano. This will progress into the effusion of small lava flow and pyroclastic flows. Pyroclastic flow is just the steam flow of lava, of hot rocks and gases. This will eventually, if it does erupt, have a very negative impact on the surrounding area. It'll impact not only the people that are living in the surrounding area, but it could also impact the national park of Rainier. And if there's anybody flying overhead, it would impact that, and it will definitely impact the natural resources, which would negatively impact wildlife and things like drinking water. And then, if and when Mount Rainier does erupt, it will take place. It would be preceded by days, months, or even more of small earthquakes centered beneath Mount Rainier. And then this is what Nick would have been presenting, and we'll just read it just so you guys get an overview of what it is. Mount Rainier is one of our nation's most dangerous volcanoes. Countless eruptions of volcanic mud flows, otherwise known as lahars, have surged down valleys. River valleys carved by glaciers, washed out by mud flows, and andesite and dacite lava flows.
There's 2 types of lahars, the meltwater lahars and the landslide lahars, and those are the long-term effects.
And then this is just a simplified map that shows the geology of Mount Rainier. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it shows the red shows the dikes in it, and the black lines show the fault in it, and then all the different colors just show the different elevation points in the map.
So after hearing everything that we talked about and watching the video, do you think Mount Rainier will destroy Seattle? Anybody?
Well, after we looked up all of this information, we came to the conclusion that we think when and if it erupts, it will eventually destroy Seattle.
Questions?